Hello everyone. So this month for the Paper Pumpkin Alternatives, I'm doing it in collaboration with Stmpgrl, who is Paige. I'm sure she has probably made like a whole lot more cards than me, but I've made 5. And I really did enjoy this. The first 2 cards took me a little longer, and I only had time to do 3 other ones after that, but I think they're fun. So let me just show you. Well, first of all, I had made this tag before I ever made the original one, so you've already seen that. But that's an alternative. So the next one, are you ready? Here we go. And this is called a U-fold or bridge fold card. And it does fold flat to go in an envelope. It ends up being 5.5 by 4 1/4 when you do that. So I watched a couple videos, but some were in metric, which I don't do well in that. I messed up the first time. So I watched another video. It was actually Jenny Hall from 11/18/17. She, I think, used to be a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I don't know that she still is here in the States. Anyway, you cut this paper 8 inches by 4 1/4, and then you score it at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 5 1/2, and 6 3/4, and then you fold it to make it look like this. Now she cut panels to put on the different pieces, but the only one I cut was in the very back inside, and there it was 2 3/4 this way by 4 inches up and down. And then this is one of the card fronts that fit perfectly in there, the one with the water in the sky. So I brought in a couple other sets, stamp sets, that I have. Hang on. I brought in Sea of Textures, which was in last year's catalog and did carry over, and I mostly just used this seagrass stuff over here, and I stamped it in Old Olive right on the Coastal Cabana. And I think that's it from that kit. And then well, from the dies that go with that, the Under the Sea framelits, I used this. I love this like netting stuff, and I just put a little piece over here on top of the bridge. And then also I used the Sailing Home, this little sailboat, and I cut it out with the smooth sailing dies that coordinate with it, and that's in there. And then I also used the birds, the seagulls from the set. Okay, so the first thing I did on this, though, hang on, is I wanted to try my own way of making sand. So what I did is I used the stamp from the kit, which was a really nice stamp set. I used this stuff. I stamped it with Versamark clear, and used clear embossing powder. And when the embossing powder, I heated it, and when it was still wet, I sprinkled a little bit of Dazzling Diamonds in it, but you can hardly see. I can see some underneath here a little bit. The idea I was going for is when you're walking along the beach and the sun hits it just right, the little sand crystals do sparkle sometimes. So that's what I was thinking. And I don't know if I achieved it or not. I also stamped with the coral stuff in clear, I'm sorry, in Versamark, and I did like, and I also used clear, and I went into the card in here and over here. I don't know if you can see it. So I just wanted some texture kind of stuff in the background. And then I used one of the trees that has the sand going on it, so a little bit more textural sand. Down here I used 2 of the little vellum pieces. This is one of the labels from the kit, and a sand dollar and a starfish here. And they're on top, the starfish is on top that netting stuff that I just sort of have going up the side over here. So there's something on the side there, there's this sand on the side here, and then a sand dollar in this, and I just stamped in Coastal Cabana, "You Made My Day" special. The sailboat, I think, was stamped in soft suede. I actually went to stamp it, and you'll see that on another card, and I realized that I already had one stamped and cut out, so I used that one. And the birds, I think I did in crumb cake also, and I actually added an extra bird because I have a little glitchy there. So anyway, that is my first card. I think it's pretty cool. I like how it goes like that. Maybe should have put something here. I don't know. It's okay. I mean, it can go like this too, but I like being able to see the sailboat when you open the card, and then it pops up like that. So how cool is that? Love it. I'm so, I could have made like 5 more of those, I think, and been happy. But then the next one, I had this piece of crumb cake already cut, and I was playing around with this, and I thought, one of those vellum pieces, and I thought, why don't I try and make it like a little window? So I went through my punches, and as it turns out, if you use the 2-inch circle punch, 133782, it leaves enough room that you can glue down a real fine line of glue the vellum piece right around the edge of the opening. So I did that first, okay? Then I pulled out the card. I have a lot of stuff left, guys. I have enough to make lots more cards. I pulled out the card, this card, and I cut the bottom off, and I put it behind there, and so it looks like the sky and the earth and whatever. I just thought that looked cool. I was trying to, I should have, if I was doing it again, which I might at some point, I have this glued around the edges to the back of this paneled card front here. If I was doing it again, it would be glued to the bottom card front, and then put this up on dimensional so it actually had more depth to it, but it still looks pretty cool, I think. Can you see it in there? And you see I have glitter everywhere. There's some glitter rubbed off. So then I took this, after I did that, before I did any of this, well, actually, I think next I stamped these corals in crumb cake. I'm sorry, just on the corners down here. Then I took the Pinewood Planks 143708 3D embossing folder, and just ran the front through, and it, yes, this was already on it. Actually, I think I did that before I glued this piece onto the back. So I ran that through and embossed it. I did use my little finger dauber with crumb cake and went all around the edges of that top layer just to make it pop, because I did tone on tone. I put the crumb cake on crumb cake. Now I had this piece of Coastal Cabana left from messing up the first time I did this card, and you'll see I used some more of that too. Here's a piece of Whisper White. I just stamped "My Day is Better Because of You," and I used some more of the coral, but in Coastal Cabana. And then this is I stamped the starfish with crumb cake, and then I took wet glue. I took this burlap ribbon. This peels apart, and I had a bunch of little pieces, so I peeled it just down a little ways, maybe about there, peeled it all apart, and then I snipped it, and all those little pieces I glued on to give the starfish some texture. I don't know if you can see that. So it looked more natural. That's what I did there. I actually had to fussy cut the starfish out first though. Probably there was one in one of the other die cut sets, but oh well. And then I actually have that bumped up on dimensionals, but I also put 2 of the greenery pieces from the kit down. And this whole card front is up on dimensionals. There you can see one. And then on the inside, another extra piece of Coastal Cabana. Again, stamped the coral. This was an extra little piece of Whisper White. I went around the edges of it with the finger dauber, and then I just stamped off and stamped a starfish, see, onto the center of that one. But you can still write over that. And that is card number 2. 1 second. But I love how that window kind of thing came out. I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, card number 3. After I did the embossing on the first card, this part here, I thought, well, I want to try it to make it look like the water instead. So I did it on Coastal Cabana, but this time I used white embossing powder. And you have to stamp, you know, you can see sort of where they connect a little bit. And these are more strips left over from messing up the first time I cut this. And that, I think that finished them. I think maybe I had one more. Anyway, this, remember I said I realized I had a sailboat? Well, this piece is the back from this. So I had stamped another sailboat on there before I realized I already had one cut out, and I was going to use that and cut it out. And I thought, well, I'll just leave it be. And I did snip a little bit of it off because I wanted it to appear like it was in this watery stuff here. I had a bit of the netting left over from doing this first card. This piece is pretty big, and I just cut it around the edges. I trimmed it here, so whatever was left, that's what I used here. I spaced these out just so they'd fit. This is Whisper White thick cardstock, and I did it so it opens from the top. I used a couple more of the green things up here to sort of hide that harsh corner, but I did distress this around the edges with the dauber. I might already said that. This is the 2-inch circle that came out of this card front here. And then I used the You Are Amazing and stamped it on Whisper White, and then I cut it out with the Scallop Circle Punch. It's 1 3/8, I'm pretty sure. Yes, 1 3/8 inch circle, Scallop Circle Punch. And then these little dots are from the glitter enamel dots, and this is Coastal Cabana. So I used 3 different, or 2 of the same size and 1 smaller one. And 1 sand dollar from the kit. So that's how I did that. I think it came out cute. And then the inside, I just had 1 more skinny strip. I might have had, that was a longer piece, so I had more of that left. And I just stamped off and did 1 sand dollar in there. So that is card number 3. And then card number 4, I went back to a little bit of a fancy fold. So let me explain what I did on this one. This one also goes lengthwise. I had this piece of Coastal Cabana. Now, I sort of did the whole card, and then I just kept thinking I need something more on the Coastal Cabana. So I pulled out my Whisper White craft stamping pad and the new birch. I got wood mount by accident, but I actually just, what I did is I just laid this down, and you'll see part of it is more dense, and see I even have glitter on that, and part of it is more spread apart. I wanted that one because it either looks like clouds or water waves, and I was going for the water waves in the background. So I laid it down flat. I took the ink pad just up to this part up here, and then I laid my paper like this down and pressed. And that's how I got that background effect on that one. That's the birch. It does come in a cling mount, which I recommend because the wood mount's more. And I'll probably use that wood block in there for something different. Anyway, so that's what I used, was the white ink on that. Down here I had a piece of crumb cake left, So I just stamped sand dollar, starfish, sand dollar, starfish in full strength crumb cake. I took the trees. Okay, this was part of an envelope. This envelope here, like this. So see, you can see it. I just stamped right on it. You made my day special. But I sort of wrapped the palm trees. Now, all the palm trees, the individual ones, go like this, but I made this one sort of wrap around that anyway and elevated it a little bit, so they're tucked down under the crumb cake piece. And this ends right at the crumb cake piece. Put 3 more of those little Coastal Cabana dots on, and before I put this down, I wrapped the linen thread that came with the kit around 3 times, and then I glued it halfway on, and I used the other part of the envelope, the flap, to go on this piece of Coastal Cabana to be the pop-up part. So, and then just a starfish and a sand dollar, since I have starfishes and sand dollars on here. So that is card number 3, and there's plenty of room to write in here. So it's an easel card. It just says, you made my day special. But how pretty is that? Doesn't that look like the waves of the ocean in the background, and then the sand sort of down here? And I added texture with the linen thread. I just think that's cool. I love how that background is. So yeah, and then this of course has all 3 of the emblems or things that were in the kit. And I did go around this Whisper White also with my little finger dauber, because it was just too stark, and I just wanted to, front and back, I just went around it just to soften it a little bit light. So that's card number, what, 4? One more card, guys. Okay, so the other week I was watching Left-Handed Crafter, and I thought, you know, I want to try that fold. She did a little bit of a fancy fold, and I don't remember what it's called. I'll call it a card in a card. But I actually took it up another notch and have a little card in an envelope in a card. So this is a piece of crumb cake folded so that it opens lengthwise. I stamped full strength sand dollars and starfishes all around to make a border. I had this piece of Coastal Cabana left. It was a squarish piece, and I had a little bit of this I had to cut off left over from this. And I didn't want to waste it, so I just put it as a background piece behind the thank you, it means so much. I stamped the coral tone on tone with Coastal Cabana here. Here I have another tree left and 2 pieces of the vellum coral, so that sort of continued across, but here it's vellum and here it's tone on tone ink. And then I used another piece of the burlap ribbon, sort of just to hide the tree base and the workings of the coral and make it look like, you know, sand or earth. And then these little dots are they're actually Granny Apple Green from these glitter enamel dots, but I thought they went well, so I used them. And then when you, and this does not come out, it is tacked down. And then when you open it, here I used a whole little card, another piece of Coastal Cabana just to give it some color. I stamped 3 of the corals on, and on here I stamped a sand dollar and a starfish, and then it opens up. So it's not exactly what she had done. She had a little bit bigger card in here, but I thought, well, you know, why not just use the actual card? And then it opens like that to write on. And you can even write over here also. And I did stamp, you are amazing. So thank you, it means so much. You are amazing. So that is my 5th card. Let me bring everything back and get these off here. And I enjoyed making them. I'm going to make more of these in the future. And I really think this turned out so cool too. So let's see if I can get these in frame. And I have to go this way. So there we are, my 5 alternatives so far, and oh my gosh guys, I have so much left. I mean, I was just showing you, I have I have all these cards left. I have 3 of this one, 2 of that one. Oh, that doesn't go in there. 2 of that one and 2 of this one. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 card bases left, or cards. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I also have 10 envelopes left. Now I was using my own linen thread, so I still have the whole roll of the paper pumpkin kit linen thread. I have a bunch of these left, and I kept this one because I had used it as a stencil, but I also have 2 of the bits, no, 1 of the bits left in that one. I have a bunch of green, and that's only from the first sheet. I have a couple labels left, not too many of those, but that's okay. I have this piece of an envelope. And then I still have, oops, all these sand dollars and starfish. Are there some labels yet? I didn't even punch them, hardly any of them out. I have a whole another sheet besides what's in the bag I just showed of the greenery. I have 1 sheet of the trees, yeah, of the trees left. So I have hardly touched the surface, it feels like. I could make more of the cards as intended, but I don't know. We'll see. I had only made 4 of those, so I don't know. I might make some other alternatives, but not today. And I want to get this video up so I'm on time with Paige. Hi, Paige. I'll put a link to Stmpgrl's channel, Paige, down below. Please be sure to go check her out. I know she told me she was loving this kit. It might be her favorite so far. Of course, I love it too, but I said that last month. I don't know. I'm torn between last month's kit and this one on which one was my favorite. Definitely, I love the summery beachy theme of this one. But I also love the birds and stuff of the last one. I see I have a little paper from the Gluta or Dimensionals. There we go. So, but I love the colors of this one. I love the Coastal Cabana with the crumb cake and the old olive. I just definitely, these are good colors. Some of my faves. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I had another fancy card in mind, but it was just a little too much for this time. So I've given you 3 fancy folds, sort of fancy folds, and I think this is my favorite. I showed these 2 to my son the other day, and he said he really liked this one. So, and I do too. I think that's so cool. I'd be definitely making more of that kind of card. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Hugs, love, and peace. Until next time. And I'll probably come back again sometime with more alternatives. Talk to you soon.